Jessamyn Dodd. Hi.
How you doing today?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for coming on. So, what is exactly Posh Media?
Well, uh, Posh Media is just it's uh it's basically like a platform, an organization for creators and influencers, you know, to sort of connect and facilitate brand deals and and paid partnerships and things like that, so the brands can like sort of reach out to the creators through the media company.
Yeah,
um
okay. So, could you tell us a little bit about your background?
yes, so my background is I am a broadcast journalist for television and streaming services on a major network. I'm a reporter, so what I do is I cover a wide variety of topics,
Yeah,
global, US topics, everything from international news, things that are breaking news, things like that. So I work in a very busy newsroom. We're always, you know, the kind of newsroom where you get like 200 emails an hour and data alerts going off and off and off. So that's what I do. I'm a journalist. And I absolutely love my job.
yeah,
We've been covering so many different um, there's so much going on in the world at any given moment. There's always news, always happens. It
well,
never sleeps. So
yeah,
it's a very busy job, but it is a very rewarding job. um, we're right in the thick of it in the newsroom, so we see everything.
yeah. You said you with AME Network?
Pardon?
You said you were
I'm a broadcast journalist.
broadcasting because I think they contacted us a couple
Who
months.
did?
I think somebody from there contacted us for an interview, but
Oh.
yeah, but I had issue like there was a funeral and everything that was going on at the time, and I had
Oh, okay.
missed the interview. I think there's a show that comes at 7 o'clock in the morning, like a news broadcast.
What, I'm not sure what channel are you talking about?
I don't know if it's AME or AMC.
Oh no, I don't. That's not. I don't work for that network. I work for a
Oh,
24-hour news station.
oh, 24. Oh, the news. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I do. I work for a 24-hour news station.
yeah,
And I really try my best to stay very unbiased and really just speak the truth of what's going on. These are the facts. This is what's happening without trying to add any salacious details to it.
yeah,
One of the main problems that I see um, being a reporter in a busy newsroom is a lot of mainstream media, on both sides, on the left and the right.
yeah.
There's so much misinformation going on. You know what I mean? People don't know who to trust anymore or who to get their news from anymore. So it becomes a struggle to try to make sure that your viewers trust you and make sure that you are reporting just the facts and that people can make their own informed decisions from what you're talking about and what you're presenting them with, right?
I think the mistrust probably has come with some people, especially in the last couple of years since the pandemic came and everything. Everyone had different viewpoints of what was really going on. Because I seen the difference because we had an issue too, because this is our channel right now. This is a relaunch. We had a
Okay.
bigger channel, and some things that was getting reported, some people didn't like, and then there was other issue, and then the whole Black Lives Matter came, and then there was people that was striking the account that didn't like certain things. It got really crazy at the time. So now everything's like the relaunch is like more calm and everything. I guess because that time everyone was tense, all tensed up over being inside so much when the last,
Definitely.
yeah. So I think that time like online was really crazy. But as you said, I saw it like really increased the mistrust.
Absolutely.
with viewers, yeah, it was around that time it really increased.
Absolutely. And I think you touched on something very important. I think it was definitely in 2019 and 2020, there was so much misinformation and people getting, tidbits here and tidbits there and not doing their own research and not fact checking things that people were putting on, like, say, Twitter or, on Instagram or TikTok. People were not doing the fact checking. They were just saying, oh, this person said this, I'm going to go ahead and believe it because it looks good to me and it touches into something that I kind of believe in. So there was so much misinformation and yeah, people were stuck inside. Everything was locked down. Yeah. So, you couldn't really go out and discuss things with the community. You had to do it online. And I think the rapid spread of the misinformation came not only from the mainstream media, but also with the explosion of social media. You saw a huge uptick. TikTok went from something that people were like, oh, it's a dancing app, to becoming this humongous, like one of the number one social media apps in the world. And you can just see how fast, people latch on to things and how fast misinformation can spread. And it just takes one little nugget of misinformation for one person to put out there, and millions of people latch onto it. And then all of a sudden it becomes fact, Yeah. And that's not always the case. There was so much pressure on everybody. We were going crazy, stuck in the house. Our kids couldn't go to school. Our kids couldn't have play dates. People weren't going in the office. You couldn't go out to eat. People were losing their homes because they couldn't work because everything was shut down. And then you pair all of that, the explosion of, like, I am having cabin fever, with all of the, the racial injustices and the things that we saw, especially in the Black community, the uprising. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that was brought to a world stage and it exploded. And I think it all just went into one big bomb, and people said, I don't trust the news anymore. And that's very hard for someone whose job is to report the news. When people are like, we don't trust this, we don't trust that. Who do we get our news from? And I think that's still a huge hanging question for people in America.
Exactly. So when dealing with that issue, what do you try to convey to your viewers to gain that trust?
So especially for me, when I'm writing for on air, I have to make sure that I have to have at least 3 sources, right? It can't just be one, but somebody said this on Twitter, someone took a picture of this, and this is what we think about it. I have to have 3 legitimate sources before I even start writing a story. The best thing is to, like, have actual sound bites of people saying things, so it can't be misconstrued. It's like, how can I lie about this? This is exactly what they're saying, right? This came out of their mouth. Another thing that's super important to me, especially when I'm writing, and I tell people this all the time, is take the adjectives out, because that's going to immediately add bias to it. You can't say the lengthy trial. The trial lasted 3 to 4 weeks. You know what I'm saying? So there's a difference in the way that you can say that, the spectacular, the tremendous lies. Well, this was proven because X, Y, Z. We have this to prove it, this to back it up, and this to counter it. And people on this side are, here's the story, and this is how people are reacting to it. Here's exactly what they said. Here's a quote. So it's basically, you have to keep it very factual. And I think a lot of people, there are certain topics that people don't want to talk about. Yeah. And a lot of reporters do not want to touch, because immediately the second you put it up, there's going to be a million people reacting to it and things like that in a positive and negative way. Yeah. I see that all the time.
I think that's where social media comes in, because other, like, bloggers and everything, they would see things to talk about that they know mainstream wouldn't talk about.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where sometimes the tension comes between the two, because sometimes it could be they're reporting on something that mainstream doesn't want to be reported on, but on the flip side, they might have misinformation while they're reporting something as well too.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because, with social media, it it is a blessing and a curse, because it's very easy to get the story out quickly to millions and millions and even billions of people sometimes. You have people reading and looking at it, and they can, and we're able to see news that's happening. You saw, especially with the Iran, with the protests, a lot of times in what the actual media couldn't show you, because we couldn't get into those areas, were what people on their cell phones were showing you and posting online. So that's a great part about it. But the other part about the social media is that people sometimes post things as if they are facts, without saying, this is my opinion on it, this is how I feel about this, and without actually posting a source. They'll be like, oh my God, President Biden just said this. And it's like, oh, wow, and people be like, oh my God, that's crazy. This is insane. This is crazy. Right. Oh, wait. And I go, source. Where's the source? Where did you get that? Did you hear it? Is it on tape? Is there like 5 people, what are you talking about? So I think a lot of people immediately jump onto that on social media, and they start retweeting and reposting and putting their opinion in, without actually saying, is this a truth, or is this just something that somebody put up that they might feel? And one of the things with social media is that, opinion sharing is expected on social media. Yeah. You know what I mean? People want, especially when you're going to TikTok, for example, people tune in to hear other people's opinions. Yeah. So it's not a news source, but it's very much an opinion sharing platform where people want to hear your opinion about the recent thing and the recent that and the recent this, or who said what.
So what's your thought on Elon Musk with Twitter? This same topic is why he said he bought it, to have people have the free flow of information and no banning of speech. But he himself sometimes posts things that he didn't double check himself.
So I do have opinions on Elon Musk. I do think that, if you're going to show one side of the coin, you have to show the other side of the coin, as far as like, if you're going to make it, as he said, he's been reinstating a lot of banned accounts, a lot of things like that. He's allowing a lot more information to be shared. Before Elon Musk came out, we were seeing a lot of news stories and a lot of information being suppressed. Yeah. By the executives on Twitter. And I think that having a free speech platform is extremely important, because when you start making it more of a biased viewpoint, it's very easy to just, mob mentality to jump on that. So I think that if you're going to have it, as long as nobody is causing harm, calling for violence, I think what he's, or anything like that, bullying, harassing, to the point where it gets very extreme. I think that it's very important what Elon Musk is doing.
Okay. So when you're looking for a story, what is it that you look for, that you think is needed, that people need to hear?
When we're looking for stories, we're constantly searching, major, like Reuters, AP News, things that are happening timely. It has to be timely. It has to have happened in the last 24 to 48 hours, right? It's got to have a lot of sources. We need to know that it's something that people and viewers are going to care about, it's got to be something that is important, that people need to hear about. People need to be informed about things that are going on in the world. And, obviously everybody has a story, and not everybody's story can be told. But if it's something that's going to affect an entire community, that is affecting the United States, that's affecting law, that's affecting policy, immigration, it's a huge story right now, has been immigration. Those are things that everybody in the world needs to needs to know about and should be informed about, because it does affect everybody's life.
Yeah. So recently, not even 24 hours, Elvis Presley's daughter, Lisa
Mm,
Presley, she passed away. What
yes.
are your thoughts on how celebrity death is reported online and in media?
Well, here's my thoughts on how celebrity death is reported. I think the respectable media, posts a nice eulogy bio. This is what happened. This is her legacy. Here's a statement from her mother, from her press people. Beautiful photos. The part that really bothers me is when people center themselves on celebrity deaths. And
Yeah.
what I mean by that is, before the mother has even made a statement, you have people online talking about her death. Here's a video of her from the Golden Globes 2 days ago. How heartbreaking is this? It is very heartbreaking. And then they'll want to say, well, here's a picture of me at Graceland, RIP Lisa Marie Presley. And to me, that's centering yourself. I feel like every time a celebrity dies, people come out of the woodwork with photos and story. Well, here's when I met them, and here's what I think about them, instead of putting the focus on that person. And to me, it just sort of, it's in bad taste.
Yeah.
I think that, and you see that a lot. It's like, unless you're like very close with them and you're friends with them and somebody, and it's something that really affects you. It's like if you took a picture with someone backstage and you just want to put that picture up there for everybody to see. To me, that feels a little selfish. And that's just my opinion. I just don't like when people center themselves in other people's deaths or tragedies, for example. And I think it's different for people, say, on social media versus people in the news, because what we're doing is we're saying, this is where she passed away here. This is how she died. This is a statement from her family. This is her legacy. This is what goes on, so it's different for news people than other regular people online. And I just noticed that like every time a celebrity dies, everyone has to come forward with a story, and it's not even like anything that's going to add to their legacy. It's just to let people know that they took a picture with them or met them once. And to me, it feels a little weird.
Yeah, I know, because sometimes dealing with a lot of the hip hop news, that's with the rappers and everything. One big issue some people had was the rapper Takeoff.
Oh my God.
And the video was circulating murder. And some people put it up, because we never put it up, because people contacted, because there's another company that sounds similar to our company, and they thought it was us. And I said, nah, because I've dealt with death personally, and I know how it is for someone to see it before it's even really official.
Yeah.
Some people don't realize that thing is like really jarring for the family. So I get what you're saying with that.
Absolutely. And you have to understand that these people, they are your favorite celebrities. They are people who maybe their music has gotten you through horrible times. Maybe you have a special connection with one of their films, but they have families, they have children, grandchildren, cousins, people that are very much affected by their death. And especially, as you mentioned, with Takeoff, because it was so tragic with what happened with him. And the fact that people were sharing videos of his death was really disgusting. This is a man that, it's not even that, it's anybody that's his friend, people like that, I feel like you need to let people rest in peace at the same time as, honoring their legacy.
Yeah. So there's also, I just seen it a couple hours ago, Kanye West got married to his Yeezy architect designer, Bianca.
Yep, I saw that too.
But I said it was a private ceremony. Do you feel sometimes people should leave celebrities with certain things that they could have to themselves, or is it fair game?
Yeah, and this is the thing I think with celebrities. There's a disconnect with reporting like they have a new film coming out, or they were in an accident, or they're in the hospital, or they have passed away, or they got married. If they have their publicist putting this information out, then in a way it's like, okay, you can report on it. But if it's something where they're like hiding their faces and walking, and they just want to go do something, right? They want to register their child for this day camp, or they want to go on vacation, they should be left alone. And Kanye, or Ye, I think he's called now. I stopped writing any stories about him when he came out, and this upset a lot of people, because I had a very strong view of Kanye, of Ye. I understood that he was going through something, but at the same time, the comments that he was making against the Jewish community and were very upsetting. And at that point you go, okay, I'm done.
But some people were saying on social media, they said, if you stop mentioning him, giving him that attention, because sometimes he's doing stuff for attention, some people believe. And
a lot of celebrities, well, I think it's different for like, serious actors and, Oscar winning actors. It's very different. But I think for a lot of celebrities, especially internet celebrities, people who are like Instagram famous and TikTok stars, I think they have to, they do stuff to get a reaction. And I know people were saying, Ye is doing this to get a reaction. There are other ways to get a reaction than being anti-Semitic, than being anti-Black. There are lots of different things that you can do to have people talking about you. Putting hate and violence towards a community, especially one that's not yours. To me, it's distressing, and it's sometimes, but he's got a lot of press. He got a lot of press. And, they say all press is good press. That's not true. That's not true at all.
Yeah, because I think eventually it does damage your brand, I think.
Oh, his brand was definitely damaged. And there are still people who are thinking, one of the things that I do see, especially with celebrities like Ye, is there's a lot of young impressionable people that oh, he's a genius, he's doing this because of this, he's doing this because he wants to get out of his contract. But at the same time, he's also harming entire communities and religion, and speaking on things that he shouldn't be speaking on, and putting hate into the world. So to me, that doesn't scream genius, no matter what his reason is for doing it. Even if he had a reason, in my opinion, it was all bad and nobody should have covered it.
It's interesting you said there's like the celebrities, the actors and everything, and then there's the social media personalities that get popular. And I think guys like Andrew Tate, for instance, I think he reaches an artist that feels that they don't have their voice heard. Is why they get so popular and everything.
Definitely. There's a lot of people who, maybe they'll have somebody like an Andrew Tate, or well, we'll just use him since you brought him up. And there might be something that he says that taps into something that someone maybe experienced in their childhood, or maybe something that their mother said and they don't like their mother said. Oh yes, I'm going to agree with Andrew Tate, and wow, look at how successful he is. And maybe he really knows what's going on, without actually listening to what he's really saying and the impacts of his statements. People, there's still the fact that he has been arrested and charged with human trafficking, and people still support him. I don't understand that. To me, it took a very long time for people to finally let go of R. Kelly, and he's another one. But then you see people like Kevin Spacey, who immediately somebody makes an accusation about him, and now he's in a London courtroom right now. for, sexual assault or sexual harassment. And he's done. No one will hire him anymore. Nobody wants to work with him. No one wants to show his movies. It took a very long time for people to let R. Kelly go. People still have not let Ye go, even though all of the insane things that he has said about the Jewish community, about the Black community, about slavery, about Harriet Tubman. People seem to let that go because he makes really good music sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
And with this, I think it's almost the same thing with internet celebrities too, because you have people who have like 5 or 10 million followers on TikTok, and they'll post something or they'll be in a live stream and say something racist. And, people say, okay, we got to stop. We got to hold down. And then they make their apology video and it's like it never happened.
Yeah.
And we're just going to keep going on because we like your content. I think there was one lady a couple of years ago who said something. I think she was a white woman and she said the N-word, and people held her feet to the fire for a minute, but she still had like 4 or 5 million followers. Which shows me that there are still people who either A, want to watch it to see what she's going to do, if she's going to be messy, or B, said, okay, it was a mistake. She apologized. Let's move on.
Yeah, that's correct. There's the two sides.
Yeah. And I think it's also, but like Andrew Tate, and especially with social media influencers and of course you're a podcaster, so you understand, you have your show. People do connect on a certain level with people that they see online. Yeah. And when you're watching them and you're online with them and you're commenting back and forth with them and you're sharing their videos, it can feel like you're friends with them. So you kind of sort of go to war for them, even though you maybe have never met these people in your life. Mm-hmm. It's a very strange phenomenon, especially that we see on TikTok. We have these TikTok clicks, people jump in. And if you say one thing about somebody like, hey, that live stream was a hot mess, their entire fan base will jump on you and make videos about you or call you out or whatever it is. And it's so like, it's the weirdest, it's very strange.
Nicki Minaj and Beyonce's fan.
Pardon?
You said Nicki Minaj and Beyonce has the worst fans for that.
Yeah, Nicki Minaj has a crazy fan base. Everybody has seen this. There have been influencers and bloggers who have called her out for problematic behavior, called her out for, her husband's behavior, her husband's crimes, who she continues to work with, and her fan base. I've seen them attack people for days and days and days, to the point where it's almost insane.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like, especially on social media, it's like, we're all allowed to have our opinions, but you can't have your opinion about that. Where do we draw the line? Like, so-and-so can have their opinion, but this person cannot have their opinion. I don't understand that. To me, there's a huge break. And that's why I like news, because it's very factual. There's no opinion in news. So, even when you're just posting something and you're like, I didn't give any opinion on it, I just posted exactly what it is. I mean, people will still find a problem with it, but it's a lot less messy than other people, especially on social media, who have the fan bases like Nicki Minaj. Beyonce has a huge fan base. Things like that. Lady Gaga. I think one time on Twitter, I posted something about her, and I think I woke up to like 10,000 notifications from her fan bases coming after me, and I was like, It wasn't even bad, but they took it the wrong way. And I was like, wow, I'm going to turn my notifications off now, because I posted something about a meat dress, which I didn't like.
Well, I think that's the issue that some people have. I guess they're saying there's hypocrisy when there's posting. They'll support one thing, but then when someone else does the same kind of thing, they'll attack it.
Absolutely.
For instance, the Rolling Stone the Rolling Stone article that came out with the 200 best singers, a lot of
Yes.
people online didn't like Rolling Stone bringing in Michael Jackson's past allegations as a way to lower his ranking. But with other
Mm.
artists that had sketchy things around them, they never brought it up. And then that's where I think sometimes where people would say independent bloggers and everything would be less biased because there's not a narrative and big business behind them for certain topics or individuals.
Definitely. Especially when you see huge publications, I think that a lot of times, especially in the culture that we're in right now, there's a difference between being extremely well informed, and you know, and being tolerant of everybody and other people and other people's spaces, and being tolerant of, you know, people's backgrounds, religion, sexuality, whatever they choose to do, right? And then they have this new word that woke, you know, which for some reason is you know, I think it's gone a little bit too far, in my opinion, as far as
Yeah.
you know, I think that now these big publications feel that they have a pressure that they have to say, you know, we love his music, but we do have to note that this and this
Yeah.
and this happened, without actually saying, okay, we're a music publication, we're going to talk about his music and not his personal life. A
Yeah.
lot of people, it's very hard for some people to separate the art from the artist, and I think a lot of news stations and publications feel like they cannot separate the art from the artist because of the pushback that they are going to get from the public if they don't.
Yeah.
And
Because
like you said, there's a lot of money behind it too.
yeah, I think that's where sometimes viewers that are looking at stuff, they'll look at it and say, okay, they could see the same thing what you're saying with the vote, they could see it with this person, but then another thing will come out and that same kind of thought process doesn't go behind the other person. I think that's where, as you said, the mistrust sometimes comes when
Definitely.
when they're reading reports and everything. Because they always wonder, okay, is there a motive behind the article, or is it just the person's opinion, or is there something that's just straightforward? That's what it is. So sometimes people just don't know how to take in some of the information.
Absolutely. And you know, one of the things that does happen is you'll see is someone will post like the, you know, the top 5, you know, biggest singers of all time, then it'll be Michael Jackson, and people will be like, well, he has these allegations and he has this or he has that, or like, you know, favorite Oscar winning moments from the last, you know, 30 years, and you'll be like, Kevin Spacey winning for The Usual Suspects. Well, he is being charged right now, and he allegedly sexually harassed somebody and assaulted somebody in London. So you can't put him on the list, even though that might be one of the very best performances of the 20th century that we have ever seen on, you know, one of the best supporting acting performances that we have seen in the last 30, 40 years, right?
Mm.
But people don't want to put him on the list because he's under investigation. And
Yeah,
that's a little difficult. Same thing with I'm still dealing with this. My son is a huge Harry Potter fan.
yeah,
We have J.K. Rowling. Now, she made some very anti-transphobic comments, and they even, to the point where people were like, we're not going to support Harry Potter anymore. The love of the books and the love of the films is
yeah,
completely separate from anything that she says on her Twitter, you know? And you saw Daniel Radcliffe coming forward saying, listen, you can still love Harry Potter with also condemning what she said,
yeah.
right? You can still be like, I love the magic of Harry Potter, but also I don't like what she said. You know what I mean? It's not an excuse to burn your books.
I think
Um,
one person that's like that is Bill Cosby. Because I see
oof.
everyone says he did a lot with the Cosby Show, changing the image on television with stereotypes. But then the other thing gets brought up. And then I've talked to lawyers as well, and their perspective of the case is different than just the average Joe. So that's where all the different conflicting ideologies of how to
Definitely.
accept a celebrity or an artwork and separate the person. Because some people believe that you should do it, and some people believe that you shouldn't.
Right. Exactly. Are we, and you hit the nail on the head, especially with Bill Cosby. Now, him as a person, absolutely not. No
Yeah.
way. But him, what he did in the 80s, putting successful Black married couple in their daily life with their a lawyer and a doctor, married, living, with 3 children, raising their children. It really,
And then there was also the
it was
college.
representation and beyond.
Yeah,
We
because
were
it was because there was also a different world that brought the college life as well.
absolutely, like, let's touch on the HBCUs.
Yeah,
Let's get more representation out there, and definitely Bill Cosby facilitated this. Now, does he deserve to be in jail? Hell yes, absolutely, 100%.
yeah,
Did he deserve to go to jail? 100%. Did he also do a lot for representation for the Black community on television? 100%. Two things can be true at the same time. Roman Polanski was The Pianist, one of the best Holocaust movies, one of the most heart-wrenching. Did he deserve the Oscar? This is going to be a very controversial thing, what I'm about to say. Did Roman Polanski deserve the Oscar for The Pianist? He himself is a Holocaust survivor. To make a movie that brilliant, that heart-wrenching, that real, did he deserve the Oscar for Best Director? He did, because he was the best director that year. Did Roman Polanski sexually assault somebody? Yes, he did. Those are two separate things,
yeah.
Should he give his Oscar back? The Oscar is not about Roman Polanski sexually assaulting somebody. The Oscar is about his work. So it's really, sometimes it's hard, even for me. I'm like, okay, how do I do this? And there are some that I can't.
Yeah.
I can't listen to R. Kelly. I just can't. Are his songs good? Yeah, they are. Does it make me want to throw up when I hear them? Yeah, it does.
Some of them, especially after you know what happened and some of the lyrics, you kind of
Yeah, it's
some
right.
people.
I can't get with that. Another one, but can we say he made amazing music and he had a great voice? We can say that. Do I want to listen to it? No.
Well, I guess that's the thing. Give people the choice, I guess.
Yeah, and that's the cancel culture.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes I feel like cancel culture is not real. Just quickly, I think that cancel culture was a huge thing, especially during the 2016 and the 2020 election, when celebrities were coming out and putting their opinions and their, publicly stating who they were supporting for president of the United States. I feel like a lot of people were they held their feet to the flame for that. People came after, actors who were beloved, Emmy award winning actors who people's shows they love, whose movies they love, because they said, I'm a Republican, or I'm going to vote Republican. Tim Allen, that happened with him. He came out and put his support behind the Republican Party, and everyone went, we don't like Tim Allen anymore. So I think, but the whole thing of like, of the celebrity cancel culture, when there's a crime behind it and legalities and a courtroom behind it, I think it does work. And I think it is important, but as far as people just sharing their opinions on whether it's politics or this or that, it becomes a very muddy area.
Yeah.
What are we going to cancel people for? What do we want to put people out of work for? What do we want to, ban people from, being cool or, popular or working? What are we going to, where's the line?
Yeah, I agree, because sometimes someone might have their opinion and call for cancel culture, but there's another motive behind it.
Right.
Not really, as you said, sometimes not real sometimes, because there's
Right.
also a lot of like fake outrage sometimes because people like attention online.
Definitely.
So
Fake outrage.
yeah, so they'll bring something up because they know there's a portion of people that would support them and they get attention on themselves.
Right. Absolutely. And especially with social media influencers, politicians,
Yeah.
actors. If someone already doesn't like someone and they do something that's problematic, that is their reason. That is the public's, the mob mentality to jump on them and cancel them. They are canceled for having their opinion. They're canceled for speaking up on their mind, even though many other people can speak up. But as long as you're saying the opinion that the general population likes, then it's okay. But the second you go against the status quo, you're quote unquote canceled.
Yeah. I seen that you had an issue on TikTok at one time. Yeah, yourself.
I did have a small issue on TikTok. So I had published an op-ed.
Yeah.
Now this was before I had my job at the network. It was strictly opinion.
Yeah.
Strictly opinion. This and opinion, but with a situation that I had seen developing on TikTok. So I decided to write about it. I felt it was getting very dangerous. On the app, people will go after families. They will go after jobs. They will start calling people's jobs to try to get them fired. They will start sending emails. They will send police to their house. They'll send CPS to their house because they don't like a creator. And I felt that this is something that needed a bigger audience. I felt that it was very scary. I felt that this is absolutely the weaponization of the police force, and the weaponization of your followers. So I decided to write a little bit about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was that I got some hate. I got a lot of people coming after me, people digging up things about my disabled mother, about her husband, trying to find my real, who my dad is not on social media. So they found my stepfather and they decided that was my dad. And I was like, it's not my dad. And they're like, yes, it is. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I'm not going to argue with you. I know who my father is, but like, you seem to know so much about me. And now we're going to find out where you work. Okay, well, why don't I just tell you where I work? You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to dig. Like, it's on, people are, especially when I got this job at the network, I decided to post a video of me in the studio. People were like, we found out where she worked. And I was like, you didn't, because I posted it. So you're not doing any detective work. It's right there for you to see. So what happened with that was one of the individuals who I had mentioned, who was doing all of this swatting and doxing, decided that they were going to go and do a soft pull on me. So they pulled up an address that I had about 8 years ago, and they had convinced every single one of their followers that is where I lived. And I was like, that's not even my name on the lease. There was a picture from a Zillow with a dog in it. And they're like, we see your dog. And I'm like, that dog is white. I have a tiny little black dog, but okay, keep going. And then he said, well, then it's got to be her dad's house. And I'm like, no one in my family has that name. I don't know where you guys are getting. And they're like, this is where she lives. And she lives with her father. And she lives here in the valley in Los Angeles. And I'm like, every single thing that you just said was 100% wrong. And people believed it. And that's what got me thinking. You just put really wrong information out there. The person who now owns the house that was sold 8 years ago might be in danger because you're broadcasting this to the internet. So basically, I had done a piece about doxing. And then when I put that piece out there, within an hour, I was doxed. They got the wrong address. And I have since moved. So, but it's so wild. And they're like, well, we see a picture of your stepfather with a cardboard cutout of Donald Trump. So we know that you're a racist. And I'm like, what? What? What are you talking about? Well, You said your dad's black. Yeah, he is. Okay. Well, you only had one picture of him when you were a kid on your social media. I don't post everything on my social. So that means so now we know that your dad left your mom when you were born. What? This man raised me. This man raised me until I moved out to California. And I talk to him every day. Like, what are you talking about? It's so weird.
Yeah, you know
They get these little teeny pieces and they run with this narrative and it becomes wild.
Yeah.
And, and I don't respond. I kind of did one response like, hey, you guys, this isn't true. Please leave the people who live there alone. You're wrong. Yeah. And that's not my dad. And that's all I'm going to say about it. And, just a couple weeks ago, there were a few videos made about me because of someone who I associate with. Okay. And they're like, we know you owe this person an apology. And I'm like, I've never said anything about this person online. I don't make videos about people. And whatever this stuff is going on, whenever we report anything on news on TikTok, it's got to be a story such as the Idaho murders, where a TikTok psychic, accused a professor at the University of Idaho of being the murderer. Now, there was a defamation case brought forward by that professor. Those are things that I'm going to report about. Yeah. Those are things that we care about. Whatever's going on between, TikTok and people said this and this and this, I don't care. Someone made a video about me. Oh, look at her. I'm not I am not racist. Like, what are you talking about? Well, she works for this person, so she's got to be white supremacist. And I'm just like, oh my God. Someone sent me like 5 videos. They said, are you going to respond to this? I said, no, because it's not true. Yeah. And if I respond, it gives them more air and it gives them more to work with. So I don't respond to things that are not true, that are coming from people who I don't care about. Yeah. If it's somebody over there with like 5,000 followers, it's not true. It's coming from a horrible source. Yeah. It's coming from a source that doesn't even matter. And why would I respond to that? Yeah,
with this whole social media, people could hide behind a username.
Yes.
I don't believe like a majority of them, like if it's face to face, they will have that behavior.
Absolutely not. Right. If I met you in real life, you're not going to come running up to me. Well, you said that person's live stream was bad and you owe them an apology. No, I don't. Here's things that I don't. I don't owe anybody an apology.
Yeah, just giving you
for something that I've said of my opinion that is not harmful. Okay. Yeah. If I harmed someone, then yes, but I didn't. So if I said this is a bad live stream, it's getting out of control, say this to my friend, you owe that person who hosted the live stream an apology. I do not. I don't owe anybody an explanation. I don't owe anybody an apology, and I don't owe anybody a response. Yeah. Because I don't do that. Like if social media, if Instagram and TikTok all died, if they were all banned tomorrow, I'm good. I have a life. I have a job. I have a child. I have my dog. I have a career, and I have a life outside of social media. So if everything were to explode tomorrow and the government shut everything down, and let me go ahead and tell you that I think it's been over 27 states have banned TikTok on government issued devices and now on networks. And now we've seen 3 colleges ban TikTok on their Wi-Fi networks. Oh. So if it goes down, I'm good. Yeah. I've got time. I got stuff to do, So that's why I don't respond to people. And honestly, sometimes when you do a response, it just makes it worse. It makes it worse. You're giving more air and you're escalating the situation. By just ignoring it, they'll get tired and stop talking about you. Yeah. And that's what happened. So.
Yeah. Because I know Trump was talking about banning TikTok coming to the beginning of his presidency. Well, I didn't know that there was like follow-up that actually got banned in certain places.
Yes, New Jersey is the latest state to ban TikTok on government-issued devices. What that means is if you are in politics, a secretary, whatever it is, if you work in any government agency and you have a phone, you may not download TikTok onto that phone. You cannot use the Wi-Fi in those government buildings to go onto TikTok, because it is a security risk. You know, people are creating deep fakes. People are tapping into, United States security information from the, TikTok is owned by ByteDance, which is a Chinese owned media company. So that information is going straight to the Chinese government. There was a case about 3 weeks ago where there were 2 reporters that were reporting on TikTok about TikTok and ByteDance and the Communist Party in China, the CCP. Now, it turned out that some people at TikTok decided to go ahead and target those journalists. Those people at TikTok have since been let go. They've been fired, but they targeted the journalists. They pulled their IP addresses up. They found their physical residences, and they tracked everybody that those 2 journalists were connected to in their private and personal lives. So that's pretty scary. So that's why you see this pushback, especially on TikTok, and not so much like an Instagram or a Meta, because it's more of a US. Now, TikTok has been trying to diversify to sell to the United States so that it can operate in the United States without being under Chinese ownership.
Well, speaking of that, there was a report. Well, maybe this goes into what you were saying. There was a report that started off on Reddit that said Vince McMahon came back, and I think he's on the board again. Well, yeah, he is on the board. They put out a press release, but they said that he sold it to the Saudi Arabia sheiks, and it's spread out there, but there's no official thing that it is true or it isn't true. But a lot of American fans were upset, saying they'll be done with the company because he sold an American franchise.
Right. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would have to wait until I see like concrete evidence of that.
Yeah,
really
because
speak on it.
because that's what some people are saying. They never saw it in Wall Street Journal.
Right.
Wall Street Journal was the one that released the news about Vince McMahon's allegations last year that made him step down.
Yeah, and one of the other things you mentioned was Donald Trump banning TikTok, and I think it's because there was so much. They're starting to have a little bit more tags and things like that, where you can flag it for political posts, or they recognize certain words now in videos, so that it is flagged as like, please click this link to get more information about this subject, especially when it came to the midterms. Yeah, there were a lot of people discussing the midterms, and if you notice on their videos, there's a tag underneath that says get more information on the US midterms. So that was one step in the right direction.
YouTube does the same thing on certain topics. They'll put a link to a Wikipedia or something else information. Speaking of Trump, do you believe that the whole misinformation in the last few years could be due to him saying there's fake news out there? Because that's what really got the thing rolling in my mind. Well,
I think that before until Donald Trump, I had never heard the term fake news.
I didn't hear it too.
That was like a term that he coined. Yeah. We'd always been like, this is not true, this is false information, but fake news. But I want to say that he had a point, and I think and I'm not going to go into what he actually meant by that, but there was so much misinformation about what people were doing, about documents, about this and that, technically a lot of the news became really fake because you didn't know what to believe. You see people jumping ship from Fox, from MSNBC, from wherever it is, saying that we don't trust the media anymore. And that's very, because a lot of the mainstream media won't report on things that other media outlets might report on. So there is indeed a problem with fake news. There's a lot of fake news. Now, if it's in print and somebody's written it and it's a text message and they said it and you get the entire context. You can't really call it fake, but there's the spread of misinformation. And I look sometimes, in our newsroom, we have like 5 different news channels, televisions going at different times, and you can see what different news stations are reporting on. And sometimes it'll be something huge and you're like, why is this channel not covering it? Why is that channel covering it? Why is this channel not covering it? And so there is a lot of, I think it's important for people to really branch out as far as where they get their news from, so that they can understand that, maybe your favorite channel isn't going to cover everything. You know what I mean? And just because you didn't see it on that channel doesn't mean it's not happening.
Correct. And I think that's where social media comes in, even like platforms like YouTube. There's news organizations that aren't in North America that sometimes people look at. Because there's a few like Wired News. I seen that's pretty popular, but that's out of India, I believe. So,
yes. And that's the thing about America, is that we have so many different ways to get your news. There's print, there's online, people still buy newspapers. You have like bloggers, you have social media, you have cable news, you have streaming channels, you have network news. So there's so many different ways. So, if you think like, oh, this isn't really happening, well, go check it out and make your own decision. Luckily we don't have state-run media, right? Where the state is just going to show you what they want you to see. We have lots of different news outlets. And like I said, because one person is covering it this way and another person is covering it that way, it's up to the viewer. And honestly, and like I said, there's a lot of stuff that a lot of mainstream media is not covering, but it's happening. And just because they're not covering it doesn't mean it's not real. Well, I didn't see this on, MSNBC. I didn't see this on this channel. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. That doesn't mean that this isn't going on, because look at the other channels that are showing it, channels that you might not like, but they're showing it to you. So, the point is to really just, get the truth out there. And I feel like that's my job, is just to keep getting the truth out there and having people make informed decisions for what they believe in and what they want to see, what they need to see, what they should be informed about, things that are important. And really, especially things that other, lots of stations aren't going to cover. We need to make sure that that the news is out there.
Exactly. So you're also a social media specialist. That we're talking about. What's your best advice for people that's getting into it or in it right now to help fix the misinformation and confusion that sometimes it causes viewers looking for news?
Well, I think if you're getting into social media, it's very important to make sure that when you speak about something, about it from all angles, unless you really want to do like, celebrity blogging, or, sometimes people just want to share, their opinion, and they want to have a social media platform that's just saying, hey, this happened and this is what I think about it. But I think it's important to be very clear that this is a fun page. This is an informative page. This is a page where I joke around a lot about things that have happened in the news. And it's not 100% truth, right? We're just having fun. Versus this is it. I'm going to show you this news article and this is what I'm going to say about it. So I think for people getting into social media, just be very clear on your message of what you want your platform to look like. Be very clear on what kind of a page you're going to have. And my biggest advice to anybody who wants to get into being like an influencer or anything like that is be authentic, because people can smell when you're fake. And the main thing that brands look for is authenticity. And do you have a relationship with your followers? Do you talk to your followers? Do you answer every question that they ask you? Are you authentic and are you attentive? And do you build relationships with people who are following your platform?
Okay. So your Posh Media, what kind of person do you believe would benefit from working with you?
Um, honestly, anybody who really wants to expand their reach into, getting sponsorships, brand deals, working with big companies. If you want to grow your influencing business, if you want to grow your, your reach as far as modeling, influencer, TikToking, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
If you're having trouble connecting with brands, if you're not sure how to reach out to brands, if you don't know what to say in your pitches, if you don't know how to respond to those Instagram messages of people wanting to work with you and send you products, how do you negotiate that? How do you navigate that? That's what I help with.
Okay.
Is sort of guiding people in that direction of what kind of brands do you want to work? What is your personal brand? What's your mission? And what brands align with that mission? Because not every brand is going to align with every influencer.
Correct.
So I really do help with, crafting pitches, getting media kits together, working on outreach. How do you reach out to a brand? Well, let me help you with that.
Okay. So is there any lasting words that you want to leave the viewers?
I've had a great time talking to you today. I think we've covered a lot of great subjects. I just want to say that, yes, I think, this has been phenomenal. I would just say fact check, make sure what you're talking about before you put it online. And just know that everything you put online is public and the internet is forever.
Yeah. Stuff get brought up years ago. I see that with celebrities.
Yes, the internet is forever. Even if you delete it immediately, someone's got a screenshot. So just be very cognizant of what you share with your followers and what you put online. Make sure you know what you're talking about. If you have any questions, Google is free. I always tell people, I'm like, Google is free. If you don't believe me, go ahead and Google it. I might be, just check it out. Make informed decisions and make informed decisions when you're reading the news and when you're listening to the news.
Okay. Well, thank you for the interview. It was